Coming up next.
Going into the park, being in nature. And if none of those things can happen, my dog, just looking at my dog, looking into his eyes and knowing like, yes, we're okay. Like, again, coming back to that present moment of breathing and focusing on my breath and changing my heart rate. Because when life gets really uncomfortable or in that present moment where you're just like enraged with something or just so sad or shot with grief, if you focus on your breath, changing your breath changes the chemistry in your brain, changes the way you're feeling.
Welcome to Faith Over Addiction podcast, where the chains of fixing and striving are broken and joy is rediscovered in Christ. You are here because you know there's more for you, a life beyond addiction's chaos, rooted in God's peace and promises. This is the place where Christian women like you learn to release the weight of fixing and striving and instead lean into God's strength to create a home filled with love, grace, and hope. She is clothed with strength and dignity. Proverbs 31:25. That's you. You may not feel like it yet, but you are stronger than you know. And God has so much more for you than carrying someone else's addiction. Here, we'll uncover how to set healthy boundaries with love and a little humor. Find resilience and grace in the messy moments of life. Celebrate small victories and embrace joy like never before. Lean into God's promises for restoration and strength because He's not done with your story or your loved ones. This is your invitation to rise up, embrace your worth in God's kingdom, and take back what's been stolen by addiction, your peace, your joy, your future. Your faith is the foundation, and your boundaries are the bridge, and God's truth is your guide. I'm Tanya Gioia, your host and fellow traveler on this journey through the chaos of addiction. I'm here to cheer you on, equip you with tools that work, and share the truth that's changed my life. The joy of the Lord is your strength. Nehemiah 8:10. Together, we'll uncover how to create safe, loving space for healing, starting with your own heart and home. By setting boundaries, trusting God's plan, and embracing His truth, you can reclaim your joy, your peace, and your family's future. Then you will be able to stand firm for your family and legacy as a kingdom daughter. A woman who can laugh at the days to come, knowing her identity is secure in Christ. So grab a cup of coffee or tea and get comfortable. Let's walk this journey together. We're about to take back what's been stolen, create a safe, healing space for you and your family, and rediscover the joy God has waiting for you. Welcome to the Faith Over Addiction podcast. I'm Tanya Gioia, your host, and I am here with Lane Kennedy, who is a calm living docent and stress management expert. I'm feeling calmer just being in her presence. So I'm going to let her describe a little bit more about her work around the nervous system, regulation, breath work. So Lane, welcome. Give us a little bit more about how you got here and what you do.
Yeah, thanks, Tanya. Thanks for having me on the show. It's always just such a privilege to share my story and to share what I do in the world to help people regulate their nervous system. I am clean and sober myself. I'm 29 years, and that's a really big deal for me and for my family. I can't even imagine struggling still with addiction. And, finding recovery was not easy. I didn't know that it was something that I even had to look for. And when I did find it, I was fortunate enough to be around a group of people who really embraced this kind of spiritual component. And they also embraced meditation. And so that kind of kicked me off on a very in-depth journey around what it means to be quiet, what it means to be still, how to live in the world that we have without substances. And it's been a profound, profound life. It's been quite a journey. And about, well, my son is 16. So 16 years into my journey, I had my son. And at the time, the doctors had said, you'll never be able to conceive a child. And I, just, that's great, whatever. Like I was just going about my life. But suddenly, as I just said, I have a 16-year-old son now. And, that kind of kicked me off on another journey of motherhood, of parenting.
Mm-hmm.
And, that's a really intense journey. And I had never had postpartum before. I think I'd never experienced depression or postpartum before. And I'd never experienced rage before. And I never experienced anger before. And that was my son, the first 5 years, I was just torn up. I just didn't know where to go, what to do. And that drove me into greater faith and a greater practice and meditation. And I started, like, I had to learn, because I found myself outside of my car yelling at somebody here in the city of San Francisco with my child in the car, And so that's not a great role model. That's not a great, like, I don't even like to admit that. Like, that was me at one point, but that's a part of my journey and my story. And I'm really grateful for that moment because it was an out of body experience where I saw myself and I saw my child and I thought, this needs to change. This has to change. And that started my journey into the practice that I do today and what I teach and why I'm so passionate about, sharing with people on how to regulate their nervous system. Yeah.
So, Lane, you have this out of body experience, and I'm at the end of. I mean, we're parents forever, but I'm at the end of children in my home parents. My last one will go off to college fall this year. So you realize this is not what you want to model. Oftentimes we don't know where to turn for help.
No.
And we're like, hey, this is not who I want to be, but what do I do about it?
Yeah, it was pretty intense. And there weren't people around me who could guide me. So I had to kind of go in, and that's a harrowing journey of like, what is inside of me? Where is my faith? What is here? What is this power that is so much greater than me? How can I tap into that, use that? You know, it was, it's been intense. It's an intense journey.
What Aileen Lamont in one of her books says, my mind is a scary place. I try not to go there alone.
Yeah.
I feel that way quite often
Yeah.
and invite my higher power in and say, for me, it would be Jesus. Jesus, I can't do this by myself. As you took the inner journey, what resources did you use? How did you learn to sit quiet? That's been an intense journey for me, and I still meditate with a group, so to feed off of their power as well.
Yeah.
What took you to where you are now?
A group is a great tool. I will say that it's a great tool. I just started reading. I started reading all kinds of different literature. I went down the Buddhist path. I went down science of mind path. I went down God path. I went like Christian. I was just seeking to find stillness. It was just, again, a solo journey. And I found mindfulness, and that kind of changed my perspective in how with mindfulness, it's this idea around, suspending judgment and becoming curious about life and becoming very present in the moment and practicing being present in the moment and not beating myself up about it. Because when you're really present in the moment, you're okay, right? Like there's a stillness. There is a fundamental resource that operates in that present moment. but we struggle so much because we have this brain that's like talking about the laundry list and about the bills that need to be paid and the dog that's barking next door. Like so it's this idea around training our brain to come back to that present moment and be still. And so when I found that, that kind of language, I was like, this makes sense to me. That
Mm.
like I can get down with this. I can understand it. You know, that was really helpful. And the work of Judson Brewster really helped me as well. The work of what's his name? I'm looking on my bookshelf here. I have all these books. James Nestor's Breathe really supported me as well. Just so many people that had been in the research of it, and then me reading their books and being like, yeah, this makes sense to me.
What were you doing when the present moment felt painful?
So those painful, there's so many painful moments, right? Um, one of the things that I do and I constantly do is I have a dog. And
Mm.
if my dog's not around, there's two paths here. But uh, if the moment is really painful, I will just sit and stare at nature. So
Mm.
like I'll look out a window and look, there's a hummingbird or there's a crow flying by. And that kind of just brings me back into, oh, there's another being or there's a piece of beauty that I can look at that's very different than the conversation that's happening in my head.
Mm.
That changes everything very quickly. Um, Looking at the ocean, driving out, you know, there's a great park here, going into the park, being in nature. And if none of those things can happen, my dog, just looking at my dog, looking into his eyes and knowing like, yes, we're okay. Like again, coming back to that present moment of breathing and focusing on my breath and changing my heart rate. Because when life gets really uncomfortable or in that present moment where you're just like enraged with something or just so sad or shot with grief, if you focus on your breath, changing your breath changes the chemistry in your brain, changes the way you're feeling.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah.
Let's back up just a step.
Mm-hmm.
What is going on in our mind when we are dysregulated? Let's define dysregulation and then what's going on in the head,
Yeah.
maybe even in the heart when you're
Yeah, it's all when say we get an email and that email is just not great news, or we open a bill and we can't pay that bill, or we just got a phone call about our loved one and they're somewhere that they're not supposed to be,
hmm
and immediately our heart begins to race. The body goes into this is not safe. So we have this autonomic nervous system. Autonomic nervous system runs our entire body and we don't have to think about it, right? Which is really, really cool. It just operates. It does all the eye blinking and the heart rate and the digestion of your food. And so when we have one of those things occur to us, it sends a signal to our brain, stop. Oh my gosh, something's going wrong. Shut down. And we go into this really kind of shut down, you know, sad state. It changes the brain chemistry, it changes the way that our digestion, changes our heart rate, everything starts to change. So it's important to think about, when you get that email, how is the breath? How are you breathing? You know, is it really short? Is it from your nose to your mouth? Or is it from your nose to the back of your throat? Or is it from your nose to the upper chest? Where is your breath? Like if you can focus back onto that, that'll start to change the tone of your nervous system. So it'll change the way you're thinking because it'll change the neurochemicals.
It's so super simple. It's like program.
Yeah, it
Simple but
really
not
is.
easy, right?
Right. It really, really
Well,
is. Yeah.
what I find with a lot of women that I talk to is when that happens, they go into control mode.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this has happened, and I immediately need to figure out a way to problem solve it. How could they use this breathing technique? And what would it benefit them if they did?
Well, control is very rigid, right?
Mm.
Control, you can't, there's nothing creative about control. There's no insight, inspiration with control. It's controlled. You're thinking only from one part of the brain. So that kind of limits you for so many options and for a greater power to come into your life and to operate. And you get that when you're into that parasympathetic side of your system, that like rest and digest and ease place where you can have inspiration, where your brain is actually firing in a different way, where you can have that creativity of like, oh, I can let go of this. I can stop the control. Like I can be inspired by something else. Um, so I think it's really important for, people to understand that we're going to get news and we want to control but we'll take it back to mindfulness because I think that's like such a key part here is that, people think that mindfulness is for them over there. It's a way for, those people. But really mindfulness is it's a beautiful way to just be present with yourself, right? It's about just suspending that judgment of like, is this doomsday? No, it's not. Like right now, my feet are here. I'm okay here. I can breathe right now. My body is operating. It's going to be okay. And if I can just sit quietly and let this power that operates come into my body, my soul, my mind, it's going to give me some ideas to make change.
We're both moms.
Yeah.
And that panic, it doesn't even have to be about addiction. It doesn't, that
No.
panic of, is my child okay? The
Yeah.
body goes into fight, flight, freeze at that
Yeah.
point. At the ages of our children, sometimes there's not anything we can do. That upward spiral of panic.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever been to a point where you can't bring it back down? Or what did you have to do to bring it back down? Of somebody could die. And that might be a real reality.
That is a real reality. It is a real reality. I know that reality. And I think that's when one's faith has to come into play. I mean, at the end of the day, that's really what we have. And we're either going to be walking with it in blind. I mean, faith is walking blind, right? Like we don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a courageous act to move forward with that and to be like, I don't know if they're going to live, if they're going to die, but I'm going to hold space. I'm going to breathe through this. I'm going to make sure that my body is safe.
Mm-hmm.
Because when my own body is safe and regulated, I can function.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The person that is maybe on the precipice of dying or not dying, they're going to need me. They're not going to need me to be shut down and not and incapable. So I need to take care of me right now. And I need to believe that everything is going to be okay. It's a practice. It really is, Tanya. It's a practice.
Yes, and practicing with small things like
Yeah,
the email,
exactly.
like the phone call, to where you're
Yeah.
not in a presence at that moment
Mm-hmm.
you've hung up, or
Mm-hmm.
you could shut it down. Those types of
Mm-hmm.
things. What happens? And I know you work with people in the workspace too. What happens when you have someone who is constantly dysregulating, and my son would say vibrating,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and the other people can regulate, but this person is dysregulated a lot of the time?
Yeah.
What is the best course of action for the people who can regulate? What choices do they have?
They need to keep regulating. They need to stand and stay regulated because if the person that's unregulated, right, if they're interacting, there's more um, there's more chance that they will all come into that regulation. So I think it's important for all members of the family or members of the group to stay regulated, to stay calm. You can't force somebody to regulate, because everybody's nervous system is so unique. And the person who is struggling to regulate, somebody could say, hey, why don't you breathe? But they're like, that's not going to work
Mm-hmm.
because it doesn't work for their nervous system. Maybe they need to go on a walk, and maybe, somebody in that group just needs to go out and hold their hand and walk with them.
Mhm.
And maybe that will be enough to regulate the other person. Um, I think it's important that we all investigate our nervous systems to understand like how they operate.
What
Because
would that
again,
look like, Lane? What would it look like to investigate?
well, one of the things that I really, really love is looking at DNA. I'm also a DNA functional nutritionist. And so understanding what your stress genes are is going to help immensely,
Mm.
because then you know exactly how to take care of your body, your unique needs, so to speak.
Give us an example of somebody's stress genes. Give us a couple
Yeah.
examples. That's
Yeah.
exciting.
So we have there's a gene, the COMT gene, the COMT gene, and the OXTR gene. Those are two genes that will really um, make you have anxiety, um, make you be shut down. Uh, and it depends on, there's several other factors that are involved here. You just can't look at one gene. You have to look at several in the pathway of the body. And so when you look at that gene and then you look at the OXTR gene, there's sometimes there's people who don't really want kids, or they don't want to be around kids. And that would be a great example of this OXTR gene kind of showing up. And some people really need that affection, or they need to be touched, right?
Mhm.
That's an example of this. So understanding your genetic, propensity, how you operate, how you are, is going to really support your nervous system. And then you can say like breath work doesn't work for me.
Mm.
If I right, like
Mhm.
that's not going to work. And you know what? Caffeine's not going to work for me either, because I know that that's going to just throw me over the boat.
Right.
Um, so understanding that will really help somebody calm down.
I love hearing you say breath work isn't going to work for me because, especially in the meditation space, we've all been taught, no, you need to breathe, you need to do this.
No,
I would imagine it doesn't work for some people.
no,
That
it
they
doesn't.
need, I've got a squishy something somewhere. They need
Yeah,
something tactile. They
yeah.
need to be able
Movement.
to movement to hold on
Yeah,
to something.
yeah,
What are some other, so if breath's not working for you, go for a walk,
yeah.
go get a hug, go talk to your
Yes.
dog. What else can is easily acceptable that you found?
Uh, Drinking tea, water, hydrating,
Hmm.
that can regulate the nervous system. Like
Hmm.
it's incredible how that will just help sometimes. Reading can regulate the nervous system.
Wow. Okay.
Talking to a friend,
Hmm.
that's a really great one. Um, the binaural beats.
Hmm.
For some people that works, for some, like for me, I can't do that, but for other people, my
Hmm.
students, some of them love it.
Hmm.
Uh,
Hmm.
it's kind of finding what's going to work for you, and there's so many different ways, like I've just mentioned, that you can play with. When I'm
Hmm.
teaching my students, they come into my class, and they're like, I want to know how to not be stressed out. you know, that's like, I'm like, you are in the right place. And then, a week goes by, and I just had a student say this. She's like, I need you to tell me how to do it. And I
Okay.
said, well, you're here and I'm showing you how, right? But you have to practice.
Mm.
That's why it's called creating a practice, because I'm going to teach you all these different methods, just
Hmm.
like I'm sharing with you right now, Tanya. Like there's all kinds of different ways, but you have to actually show up for yourself and practice,
Hmm.
which is really challenging.
Yes. I hired someone to help me with my disorganized eating, and we were talking through it, and she said, Tanya, even Oprah's chef does not eat for her. You have to make
Yeah.
the decision around
Yeah.
eating.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even if, somebody fully laid it out for you and said, here's the plan and I'm putting it
Yeah.
on your plate, you
Yeah.
are still the one who is doing the swallowing with that. And you have to make that decision. So this regulation,
Mhm.
um, relieving the stress, even though you could tell them until
Yeah.
they decide to absorb it, it's not going to be available.
It's just not. Yeah. And I wish I could like, jump into someone's pocket and then pull out and go, okay, time to meditate, time to sit still, but you have to do it. It's the only way to regulate your nervous system. It's the only way to kind of show up in the world and be at peace. Like there are so many people who are struggling. It's incredible right now.
Well, and with the addiction, we're talking about numbing.
Yeah.
With the being present, you're accepting what is,
Yeah.
which is harder
Hmm.
in the short term, but not in the long term. Whereas the addiction is easier in the short term
Hmm.
and harder in the long term. Whatever, food, movies, whatever it is.
Hmm.
What does that numbing do for the nervous system and the brain?
Disconnection. It's a complete disconnection. It starts to, in polyvagal, we call that the shutdown stage, just numbing. We also call it avoidant. Um, there's a there's a huge increase of avoidance right now happening in the world because of the state of the overwhelm, which is so much technology and so much, just constant. Uh, so when we're in that state of numbing out, we're in a complete shutdown. We can't do much. And the chemistry of the brain is shut down. And so from, again, going back to the genes, the DNA part, right? If you have that comp gene that's slow or fast, depending on what it can make it either worse or better for you. So understanding, again, going back to that, just understanding your gene, your profile can kind of help you regulate your nervous system of like, I have this specific SNP and it's going to make me more depressed or it's going to make me more numbed out. And so I need to tell my family about that. I need to tell my partner about that. So maybe they can support me in getting outside and taking a walk.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, maybe they can help me eat meals on a regular basis
Right.
because that's the challenge. Maybe it's making sure that they're not overspending. There's so many ways that addiction plays out. And if you understand how you are genetically wired and then glue your support team in on it, it helps so much.
So the genetics piece, if I'm hearing this correctly, is an indicator. It's neither going to solve it nor make it worse or better. It just is, it's like your blinker. I'm turning right or I'm turning left. This is what's happening for me.
It's an indicator and it can be switched on or off.
Mm.
So if you know that you have this fast comp gene and you're going to burn through your neurochemicals quickly, then you're going to maybe do some things differently. That's the thing. Like, and the other thing that I like to share is that once you understand, then it's not a shame spiral of this is how I'm always going to be. This is the way
Mm.
I am. Right. Well, okay, now you know this is how you are. So what are you going to do about it? Right.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, wow, that's a relief.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a gene that we call it the clock gene. And it's like, well, this is when people eat late at night. And wouldn't you like to know, like, oh, this is how I'm wired instead of being like, oh, I'm eating ice cream again tonight. And then it becomes a guilt and
Yeah.
this like pain. And
Yeah.
for, somebody who's struggling with addiction, that is, that's death. Like, like that's not a fun place to be in.
That's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
We talk a lot about shame on this program of that shame spiral and how the shame spiral itself can be addicting because you
Yeah.
can numb out in the shame spiral.
Yeah.
And we're just here again, so we're just going to do it again. And here
Yeah.
we are, and I'm just going to beat myself up. And now I don't have to think about whatever other reality
Mm-hmm.
is happening over
Mm-hmm.
there. When you work with students, give us kind of an amalgamation, a story process of what does it look like to work with you?
In a class or one-on-one?
You pick.
Okay. Because they're very different. When I'm teaching in a class, I have a full class of students and, you know, I kind of start with like, where are you at? because people sometimes don't even assess where they're at.
Mm-hmm.
And so where are you with your stress and how are you managing it? What are you doing? And usually the answer is 0, 0, 0. Like I'm doing nothing. My stress is super. And then, as I walk them through, the 8 weeks, it's understanding how these practices and when and where they can use them to support their life.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of the group setting. And when I work one-on-one with somebody, it is looking at their DNA. It is really understanding how to use their blueprint and how to make a protocol or a plan. So when they come up against stressful times, or when they come up against that addictive little nag, because there is that little addictive nag that wants what they want when they want it, what are they going to do when that comes up? Because in your blueprint, it shows you. Yeah.
So when your folks come in and say they're not doing anything to manage their stress, I would think to myself, that's not true. You're doing something, but you're probably doing something you don't like.
They are doing, well, let's take the avoidance piece, right? They're avoiding it.
Yeah.
But then that's making it's compound. It just makes it worse because then
Right.
it shows up somewhere else in their life, like too many emails now they have to go through.
Yes.
Like they've avoided their inbox for a week, or
Yeah.
they've avoided that conversation
Or not open the bill.
or not open the bill, right? And that causes its own stress.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no winning here on that.
The winning is to come see you and get present.
Yes, you have to get present. You have to get into the moment. Yeah.
Well, Lane, tell us where we can find you, what you've got going right now. Because just sitting with you, I'm like, I've got
Oh,
1,000
good.
things to do this afternoon, but I'm like, I'll just sit with Lane.
Yeah, you can just do one thing at a time, like nice and easy.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can find me at lanekennedy.com. You'll find all my classes there, and I have the stress resilience class there. I'm on social as well, Lane Kennedy. Yeah.
Awesome. One of the things I want to bring out for the audience is she certainly is handling and has handled the things that we have handled when we have loved someone with an addiction. So she would be a safe person. We've talked about that, but not delved into it. A safe person to speak with about the stress you're handling right now, because we're all handling it in some way or another. It may be surmounting. So if you are loving someone who has an addiction or worried about your own addiction, this management may be a way in the door to begin to work with what's going on. A gentle one step at a time. So, Lane, I can't thank you enough for being here. We will have everything posted down below. It was such a pleasure to talk
Thanks for
with
having
you.
me.
And
Thanks for
thank
having
you
me.
for going on that individual solo journey that brought you to the place where you could share it with others.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. Again, I appreciate you so much in the work that you do in the world.
Thanks.
Thanks so much for tuning into the Faith Over Addiction podcast. Remember, nothing changes until something changes. Today is your day to step out in faith and make a difference. You are a daughter of the King, a woman who can spark incredible ripple effects of hope and healing, not just in your own life, but in your family, your community, and God's kingdom. If this episode encouraged you, bless someone else by sharing it. Send it to a friend who needs a little hope, or post it on Instagram and tag me. I'd love to hear what resonated most with you. And hey, if you're ready to reclaim your God-given identity and create a safe, loving space for yourself and those you care about, let's talk. Book a quick call with me today, and I'd love to hear your story and help you take the next step. Oh, and don't forget to head over to Apple Podcasts, search for Faith Over Addiction, and leave me a review. Your feedback not only makes my day, but helps other women find this podcast and step into freedom too. You are strong, you are loved, and the joy of the Lord is your strength. Nehemiah 8:10. Until next time, keep walking boldly into the life God has for you.